Tottenham 3, Slavia Prague 0. A game you expect Tottenham Hotspur to win, a game where you'd expect Tottenham Hotspur to get 3 points, but you never really know with Tottenham. Their home form hasn't been the very best this season, but they've just got back-to-back home wins, and in both those games, Tottenham set up with an attacking intent. Rather than having Palhinha and Bentancur in this very, very defensive pivot, he's gone with Archie Gray, who's made a huge difference that I am going to talk about in more detail later on. It was a game where I think the first half was pretty equal. Tottenham went 1-0 up. Vicario was tested, but the Slavia Prague keeper also made some good saves. But the second half, Tottenham's quality was on show, and you could see that Tottenham were clear. I thought Jed Spence had a fantastic game. I thought Kudus was incredible. I mean, it was between Kudus, Xavi, and Archie Gray for man of the match for me. I thought Archie Gray's importance was shown again. I thought Xavi Simons really grew into the game, and another fantastic game from him. I don't think there was really many negatives for Tottenham. Maybe first half wasn't amazing. Maybe Richarlison could have been better if we're clutching at straws. But I thought even like the subs, like Burville was really influential and progressive when he came on. I think all round it was a very impressive performance from Tottenham Hotspur, who in these last two games have shown their quality. Tottenham have a good side. I generally believe this. They've been unlucky because no Kulusevski, no Maddison, no Solanke. But I do look at Tottenham, I think, if they brought in a quality left winger and maybe a ball progressing midfielder, there's actually a really good side because Doggy's great when fit, Spence is good, Porro's decent, Romero and Van der Ven are a good pairing. Vicario, I think there could be an improvement there. The midfield, I still want to see Burville Gray pivot. Or Palhinha with Burville, or Palhinha with Gray. I think you have to have one of Burville or Gray in the pivot. I think Gray's done really well whenever he's played under Thomas Frank. But I'd like to see a Burville Gray pivot with Xavi Simons ahead of them, Kudus on the right, Kolomoani up top, and then I guess Odebear on the left. I do think you probably need left winger, but I think Tottenham have a decent side, a decent team, and we're seeing Tottenham playing well. And I want to talk, obviously, about Archie Gray, and I want to talk about Xavi Simons, and I want to talk about Kudus, and I want to talk about Tottenham. But 2 wins for Tottenham, 2 clean sheets, more attacking football, more attacking intent. And I think if Thomas Frank's going to learn anything, it is to stop this Bentancur Palhinha pivot, have someone like Archie Gray that looks to play the ball forward, or at least Burville deeper, and play with more attacking intent. Because when Tottenham play with more attacking intent, you're a lot better. So let's talk about Archie Gray. 23 out of 25 passes completed, 1 chance created, 1 out of 1 accurate long ball, 1 clearance, 1 headed clearance, 2 ball recoveries, and 3 out of 4 ground duels won. Now that is just stats, but if you actually look at Archie Gray and his performance in a lot more detail, he played the pass which helped unlock the first penalty. He's very composed on the ball. I think he's very intelligent on the ball, and he's always offering a passing option. He's different profile to Bentancur. He's offered something very unique. Now, there's 2 things I noticed about Archie Gray that I think makes a massive difference. One, his legs. I do feel like his mobility. When you have Palhinha and Bentancur play together, they're not the most mobile players. I think Archie Gray is a bit more mobile. I think he's got those legs where he can cover more ground. Same with someone like Burville. But the second thing is his intelligence. Now, I reckon some people are going to think Archie Gray had a bang average game. But I look at Archie Gray, and when I was looking at him, I was like, he's good. He's having a good game. His movement, his intelligence to read the game is very, very good. He can cover huge spaces. He can drop into the back line when needed. He can allow Bentancur or Palhinha to play higher if need be. But when he gets the ball, he's looking to play forward. He's looking to offer a passing option. He's looking to play forward. He's looking to move with the team. I am a big fan of Archie Gray. And I think Archie Gray and Bentancur are young. You can't expect them to be Bentancur, Burville. Archie Gray and Burville are young. You can't expect them to be the finished product now or the answer now. But I do think if I was a Tottenham fan, I would get excited about the prospect of Archie Gray and Burville potentially being your midfield partnership in a few years to come. I really do think it's a good midfield. I think Archie Gray is, every time I've seen him play under Thomas Frank's impressed me. He's very composed. He's very mature. He's got good stamina, covers a good amount of ground. He's very intelligent. He's only 19, and I think the more and more he plays, the better he gets. He had a few minutes here and there under Ange Postecoglou, but he wasn't getting consistent minutes. I think he's one of those where the more and more he plays, the better he's going to get, and I think he needs a run of games to get better. I think, obviously I spoke about his intelligence, but I think he was key in progression. He's a lot more progressive than Bentancur and Palhinha. And I think, Tottenham in possession are looking a bit more direct. I think Tottenham play their best when they move the ball quickly, they move forward and they can transition. And they can't always do that against opposition. But Archie Gray likes to move the ball forward quicker. And I think he gets the attacking game ticking. I think his physical capabilities are much better than I think people think. I think he's very physically good. And I think you could argue he was man of the match today. I think he proved that he's a top-level talent. Gray and Berthel are both top-level talents. Great ball for the penalty from Gray. Berthel was involved in the second penalty when he came on. Good build-up with Colomwani and Xavi Simons. I think Archie Gray has all the physical and technical and intelligent attributes to become a top number 6. I think he's a mature footballer. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I think he's got all the attributes you need in a player to succeed. I thought he did fantastic. Let's talk about Xavi Simons. All 8 of Tottenham's wins have since Xavi Simons signed have been with him in the starting 11, apparently. I haven't fact-checked this, so, but that's an interesting stat in itself. And I do think you look better with Xavi Simons in the starting 11 in that 10 role. I think Xavi Simons has been particularly better in these last 2 games. 1, I think the confidence of the last game. 2, I think the opposition has given you more space than some Premier League teams will. I think you will have a bigger test against Forest at the weekend and a low block, and that's something Frank has struggled to beat, low blocks. But I think having a more progressive pairing behind Xavi Simons has helped. When he has Bentancur and Palhinha behind him, he's going to have to drop deep to receive the ball. The passes aren't progressive, he's not getting the ball. Because Archie Gray has a bit more progressive intent, I think Xavi Simons also looks better because of that. And I think the fullbacks are now pushing further up. And I think that's a tactical change from Thomas Frank to be more attacking. And I think that's benefited Xavi Simons because Tottenham as a whole are looking to play more attacking and looking to play on the front foot. And Xavi Simons has been better in those games, which is no shock. 1 goal, 37 out of 44 passes completed, 6 passes into the final third, 2 out of 4 long balls completed, 1 ball recovery and 3 fouls won. Another good display from Xavi Simons. I thought Romero wasn't going to let him take the penalty at first, which would have been crazy, but he also put the penalty away, which he won. He did very well. He was making some really good runs in behind, some really good passes. He's a very intelligent player. And there was a lot of Xavi Simons slander on the timeline lately. And I think his last 2 performances have just shut everyone up. And I think now he's got that confidence from the last 2 performances. Maybe he can push on. But what I like about Xavi Simons is he's really willing to get stuck into those 50-50s. People were saying he's not physical enough for the Premier League, but look at Foden. He's starting to look more physical. He's starting to look like he's getting used to the league. He's going for those 50-50s. He's very good at finding the pockets of space. His movement, I think, is quite good. But I think, and I think he struggled with his movement the last few games. But I actually think I think he struggled with his movement when he first came in because he was getting to know the league and realising he wasn't getting the same space he got in the Bundesliga. But I think the last few games, he's been trying to find those pockets of space and done well. His movement's been better. I think he's been incredible these last few games. And I think this new system that Thomas Frank has sort of brought in, which is more progressive with Archie Gray in, has had him seeing and finding those pockets of space more. He's been making more of those runs. And I think for me, confidence is what he needed. He's playing to the level you wanted to see from him. He's having influence on the game. Players are passing to him. Players are seeing him more involved. But he's bringing a good level of intensity. I think what I'm most surprised about Xavi Simons is the off-the-ball running, the pressing, the intensity he brings, I think is really, really good. And if we look at his game numbers, as I said, he got the goal, but you don't see his pressing numbers or stuff like that. But he wins 3 fouls. He's done really well there. And I think, the last 2 games, he's really impressed me. And I look at Rando Colomwani. I think there's a good player there. I look at Kudus, I think there's a good player there. And look at Xavi Simons, I think there's a good player there. And I think Tottenham's biggest weakness has been their attack, but they've got some real quality there. Like Kudus, 1 goal, 2 long balls, 4 ball recoveries. But what stands out about Kudus for me is the way he can control it with his chest, the way he can take the ball down, keep the ball and control it. I think his goal contributions could be higher this season. But actually, they're decent numbers, and it's just he's so good in matches, he just doesn't always get the goal or assist for it. And I think he's getting his goal contributions up. He's been so good lately. But in tight spaces, he's just this beast. He's just unplayable. His dribbling is insane. Spurs rely on him so much to progress attacks on the wing, and he's so key. And I think Thomas Frank took him off because they wanted to rest him. Tottenham need another Kudus-like player for the left. Kudus is mint. Kudus is fantastic. You need another Kudus-type player for the left. In terms of other things I want to give updates on, I think Thomas Frank got his sub calls really right. I think his decisions were right. I thought even I quite liked the look of Tell on the left wing. Berthel I thought was fantastic. As soon as Berthel comes on, he drives the ball forward. Berthel will give the ball away more, and that might frustrate people, but Berthel always plays with such attacking intent, and that won the 3rd penalty, which Xavi Simons put away. Spurs I think, showed signs of what they can do. Of course, it's Slavia Prague. Can they do this in the Premier League? Will they do this in the Premier League? Who knows? You beat Copenhagen 4-0 and then were crap. But we're seeing good signs. We're seeing good signs. And I do look at Burble and think, oh, how would he do next to pulling you or Xavi in front of him? But Thomas Frank has moved away from this don't lose football his last 2 games and it's worked. Tottenham have looked more fluid. Tottenham have looked more attacking. And players like Xavi, Kudus have all looked more free. Gray starting to do well and getting more minutes. I think Kolo Muani will be your best option long term through the middle. I think your fullbacks are going higher and they're looking good. And Tottenham have looked like a decent side these last few games. Tottenham fans, let me know your thoughts down below. Could this just be a little blip? Could you get humbled at the weekend? Maybe. Thank you for watching. Bye.